Good afternoon and welcome to Do3 Coaching. Let's turn this off before it starts making a racket. We are going to be going through a free open water swim training program that we are making available to anybody who wants it today. Okay, so obviously a lot of pools are closed at the moment, and more people are diving into the open water, whether it be lakes or rivers or wherever they choose to go. And a lot of the squad particularly, and I'm sure other people as well, don't have a huge amount of structure to what they're doing. All right, so normally if you're swimming in the pool, then your coach, or certainly we would provide athletes with some structured training. In the open water, you probably don't have that on your training plan at the moment, or you're just kind of not quite sure what to do. Anyway, so the purpose of this really is just to give you some structure for that. All right, so what I propose to do today is run through the first couple of weeks of training. Now, what I'm going to do, I think the easiest thing for me to do actually is if I show you my screen here. So the training program will be delivered via Training Peaks, and I'll go through how you get hold of this in a second. Okay, so as you can see there, I'm applying 3 swim sessions a week. Now, if any of you are swimming more than 3 times a week, well, you're very lucky, because I think most people are swimming once or twice. 3 would be very good. If you're swimming more than 3 times a week, then again, you're very lucky. And what I suggest you do is you bring forward one of the sessions from one of the weeks ahead, or pick one from one of the previous weeks once we start getting into the program a little bit. But effectively, the way these work is we have 4 different types of swim session. Okay, so we're going to have an open water skills session. We're going to have a swim speed session. We're going to have a threshold session, which is like a mid-paced session. And then we're going to have an endurance session. Okay, so they're the 4 main types. Now, these are placed on here just, obviously you guys are going to be swimming whenever you can swim. So you're not necessarily going to be swimming on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays, but they're just placed there so that you can move them to whenever you actually can do them, to your own, to your own needs. But that's how they're going to sit on the training plan. And so, for example, in week 1, we'll have, as you can see on the plan there, we've got a skills session, open water speed session, and then open water threshold. The following week, each type of session will kind of roll forward. So on the next week, you would have a skills session and then endurance, because we haven't done endurance yet, and then we'd go back to our second speed session. So you can pick and choose, but that's the way we're going to apply the plan. So there will be 1 skill session per week, and then the other 2 sessions will be 2 of the remaining 3 types of session, if that makes sense. But anyway, you don't need to worry about that too much because it will be sitting on the plan for you. So if we go in and have a look at one of these, then we can go into a bit more detail about what kind of what the detail of session that awaits for you is. So just wait for this to open up. My computer's having a moment, as it always seems to. Right, so this one here is a little bit of a different one because this is aimed for somebody who it's their very first open water swim session. So it gives some tips in there in terms of making sure that you're signed in. Clearly, we've got extra restrictions in place because of the COVID-19 situation. So make sure that you're fully aware of what the situation is and the social distancing, and making sure you're sticking to the guidelines. Make sure you know the course or the venue that you're at. There'll be usually boys for you to swim around, so make sure that you know where they are and how far it is. Sometimes it can be quite deceiving how far it is from buoy to buoy, or how far a lap is. All right, so if you're new to it, then we suggest that you take things a little bit steadier and try not to get too carried away. Keep things nice and short in the early days when you start to go. All right, a lot of courses will have different length laps, so some courses will have 2 laps, some courses will have 3 laps. So you might be able to do a short loop or a longer loop, depending on what you want to do or the type of session that you're swimming. So keep an eye out for that as well. The organisers should be aware of, well, I would hope they would be aware of, areas of the lake or the river that you need to be aware of. So areas which were maybe shallower, maybe deeper, it may be particularly reedy, or there may be other hazards in the water that you need to be made aware of. Sometimes you get a kind of a rock sticking up or something like that. So you need to be aware of where these things are, because it can be a bit of a shock if you suddenly hit your foot on something when you're not expecting to. And also reeds, if you're not used to it, and weeds in the water can be a little bit disconcerting if you're not used to swimming into things like that in the water. And animals as well. So there's plenty of swans and ducks around, so they share the water with you too. So keep an eye out for those, and don't be too worried about them. So yeah, kit and clothing. Make sure you have the right kit and clothing. A wetsuit that fits. That's a different subject in its whole right there. Having a wetsuit that fits you. And make sure you've got plenty of warm, clean clothing to pop on afterwards. Okay. Now, this isn't intended as a full introduction to open water swimming. This is just an overview of the plan that I'm making available to you. So don't expect to get all of your first swim information from this. So, and again, the session has got information about what to look for before you enter the water, and what you look for once you enter it, what to do once you get into the water, a little bit about what it's like swimming in a wetsuit, and then taking your first strokes as you start to set off. Talks about sighting and talking about not getting too confident, and what you can do if you start to panic a little bit. Okay, and then that's it. Well done. You've swum your first open water session. Now get showered and warmed up. All right. So nice, simple introduction. So that's gone in as the first open water skills session for this week. It's actually started from yesterday. This is a dynamic plan. So you still will be available for you on your plan, and you can move it forward. But at the moment, it's sitting on the date for yesterday. So we'll have a look at the swim speed session here. Now, obviously, when you're swimming in the open water, you won't have a huge amount of access to information in terms of how fast you're swimming, unless you keep on looking at your watch, which we don't advise. Also, you're not going to have a piece of paper to swim around with you. So the intention with these sessions is to try and make the warm-ups, well, the first few warm-ups are identical. So once you get there, you know exactly what the warm-up is each time. All right, so we're trying to keep it simple. There's no point making overcomplicated swim sets if you don't know if you're not going to be able to remember it all. All right, so you might see a lot of repeats, and you might see some simple structures, but it's there for you. It's intended to be that way. All right, so just having a look at this first one then. So the speed session talks about the purpose of the session at the top there. The purpose is to push your top end speed, also good for race starts, accelerations, and any other time you think you need to put your foot down in a race, for example. We're going to work on building your arm turnover and strength, but as always, you need to maintain a good catch and controlled technique. Okay, so the warm up there, entering the water and immediately take 20 fast strokes. Now, that might sound a bit counterintuitive, but what that does is it gets you over the kind of putting your feet in, putting your legs in, putting your thighs in, and faffing about and getting all cold and panicky. You get in, you get on with the first 20 strokes, and you're away. You get through that initial kind of shock factor almost, if you like. Once you get into the water, take 20 fast strokes, and your heart rate will start to move up, and it'll keep you busy rather than thinking about how cold it is. Okay. Once you've done that, you can just swim easy and relax. Okay, because you're starting to move. Swim easy and relax. So an easy 5 minutes, nice, relaxed recovery type effort. If you're starting to panic a little bit at any stage, you can stop. You can roll onto your back and just wait for your heart rate and get your breathing under control. Wait for you to get back in control of yourself, and then continue on. So we're going to do 4 lots of 30 seconds of bursts of speed. And the first one's going to be 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. Again, we're keeping it simple and describing the effort levels in that way, because, again, you're not going to be able to accurately look at your watch, look at your pacings. You've got to go on feel for this type of session. 30 seconds rest in between each of those, just to get your heart rate going, get the legs, get the blood pumping to the arms. And then we're going to repeat that through again, but we're going to do 60 seconds of each one the second time around. Then we're going to swim easy for 5 minutes. Just get yourself back in control, super relaxed, nice and easy, and that should be that for the warm up. Now the main set again is nice and simple. So this is a speed type session. So we're doing 3 lots of 30 seconds fast, 30 seconds easy, 3 lots of 60 seconds fast, 6 seconds easy, 3 lots of 90 seconds fast, 90 seconds easy, 3 minutes recovery, and then we're going to go around the whole thing again. Okay. So pretty simple. Again, they're intended to be simple, so you can hopefully try and remember that. And then swim easy for 5 minutes or so, and get yourself out. So that should be around about an hour. Now, if the lake is particularly cold, I'm not suggesting you stay in there and you force it out for an hour. So just swim for as long as you're comfortable with. Once you start to shiver in the water and get really cold, then it's kind of almost too late. So just be careful about how long you're in there for. If you're new to it, then err on the side of caution and just keep it really short, and then build up your time in the water as you make return visits. Okay, so don't try and overstretch yourself. It's really important. So that's the speed session. The threshold session. So the same kind of warm up. In fact, I'll go through the opening description here. Purpose of this session is to improve your ability to hold speed at threshold pace. This is kind of a similar pace to what you'd race a standard distance triathlon at, or around about your 1500 meters best pace effort. Okay. Again, you won't have a watch or a timer to help you judge pace, so these are done on feel. And just to give you an idea about what threshold feels like, it usually feels it's quite hard, but it's a sustainable effort. Quite a good way of describing it is comfortably uncomfortable. You know, you would quite like to stop, but you actually can carry on going, and that's kind of normally quite a good way of just gauging that you're in that kind of slightly uncomfortable zone. A little note there: you'll all be swimming in lakes and rivers of all different shapes and sizes and that kind of thing. All right, so I've obviously tried to steer away from saying do 1 lap, do 2 laps, because you're all swimming in different places. I have put times in there, but clearly if a lap takes you 5 minutes and 20 seconds to swim round and the intervals are saying 5 minutes, then it makes sense just to adjust it and do a lap. All right, so you need to use your common sense with this and just try and adjust the session so that it fits the particular venue that you're in. So this is just a kind of a framework almost. So it's the same warm-up as the speed session. So exactly the same warm-up. So you'd hopefully be used to that. And then the main set itself. Now, just put after the words main set there, that's the rest can be static, which is preferable, or a super easy swim. Now, I say static because we want to put really good efforts in on the kind of the work element of it. Now, if you're swimming and you're you shouldn't be in a group at the moment because of social distancing, but sometimes it can be difficult to stop when you're swimming in with lots of other people around you. Also, if it's cold, sometimes it's not a great idea to stop too much. So there are some instances where it's better off just to carry on swimming really easily, but I'll leave that up to your judgment for that. All right, so what we're going to do then is swim 4 minutes at around about 7 out of 10 effort. So again, you need to kind of use your judgment on that. Use your feel. So 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 is a solid pace, but solid effort, but sustainable. You know, you can keep it going. A couple of minutes rest after that. And then 3 minutes at 8 out of 10. So a little step up from the one before. Rest for 2 minutes, and then 2 minutes at 9 out of 10. So 9 out of 10 is not far off full gas. And then a couple of minutes rest. So just kind of varying the pace there a little bit. Then we're going to repeat the whole thing in reverse. So starting with 2 minutes at 9 out of 10, and then going to 3 minutes at 8 out of 10, then 4 minutes at 7 out of 10. So repeating that backwards. That makes sense? All right, so I think that would take you up to about 50 minutes or so. And you then swim for 10 minutes to finish. So again, it depends on where you are in the lake or the river and how big it is and that kind of thing. But just use your common sense again. So swim for 10 minutes. Swim the first 5 minutes around about 7 out of 10 effort. So again, that kind of solid but sustainable pace before finishing, dialing it back to a nice easy pace for the last 5 minutes. All right. So that's that first threshold session there. we have a look at the sighting open water skills, again, I'm not going to read through all of this because the instructions are all in there. But these don't have a huge amount of structure in terms of swimming distances and doing this and doing that and doing the other. It's more about explanations about how you should be, things you should be thinking about while you're swimming. And this one particularly is in relation to sighting. For example, talking about what you should do with your head and how you should build it into the natural rhythm of your stroke. Okay, so what I suggest you do with these is just read through this information, try and take as much of it on board, and then go out into the water and just swim some half laps, swim for a couple of minutes, practice it, stop, have a think, have a rest, and repeat, and just purely think of it as a sighting session. All right. It is obviously a little bit of fitness work anyway, because you'll be doing some exercise, but try and keep it low level. There'll be plenty of opportunities to increase your to do your sighting and kind of higher paced workouts in the future. Endurance session. So these are all an hour, all of these sessions. So the purpose of the endurance session is to build up aerobic endurance, practice sighting, get used to making fast starts with little to no warm-up. So what we generally do with our squad locally is on the endurance sessions, we just get in the water and get on with it, because they don't normally start too quick. All right, and you get a chance to actually kind of build into the session naturally. Now, what I actually want you to do with this one is I want you to start quickly with a minimal warm-up. Okay, so the reason for that is because I want you to kind of feel that a little bit of stress and anxiety that sometimes can come from making a fast start in the water, particularly when there's people around you. Very often at races, you won't get the opportunity to warm up properly. You might think that you can, but very often the opportunities don't arise. All right, so it's good to practice every now and again, just making a fast start from cold. Now, again, if you're a newer swimmer, then this might not be for you, and you can kind of build into a little bit. But if you're a little bit more confident in the open water, then give this a go. All right, so you just count yourself in, 3, 2, 1, go, and then you go and you swim fast for 2 minutes. And that's what you'll find happens in races. No matter what the distance is, people will go for it for the first couple of minutes or so, and then the pace starts to settle down. That can be really important because we want to draft, hopefully want to draft on the feet of someone who's a little tiny bit faster than you in the open water. So if you let them go, then you're never going to find them again. So you need to try and hang on to these people's feet for the first couple of minutes, and then hopefully the pace will settle down. So you can get a little bit of a helping hand, if you like, if you go about it this kind of way. So worth trying, experiment with it. So after a couple of minutes has gone by, settle down into a steady rhythm. So effort level should be about 6 out of 10. So the kind of effort that you'd be able to hold for an hour or so. Okay, so a good steady pace. Shouldn't be too stressful. So you're going to swim like that for 8 to 10 minutes, depending on how you're feeling. Given some kind of flexibility in there in terms of the timing, because some of you guys might not be happy to swim for quite that long without stopping in the open water. Again, just do whatever you're comfortable with. But 6 to 8 minutes, and then a static rest again for 2 minutes. The next one, we're going to swim, so 6 to 7 out of 10, just kind of a little bit more flexibility on the pace there for 6 to 8 minutes. Remembering this time to build sighting into the stroke as you had done on the skill session. All right, so start focusing a little bit more on what you're doing with those skills. Again, static rest for a couple of minutes. And then finally, you're going to swim for 4 minutes at an 8 to 9 out of 10 effort. So a little bit of a faster interval there, but it's only 4 minutes, so it shouldn't be too difficult. And again, a static rest for 2 minutes at the end. You're then going to repeat the whole thing through again from steps 2 all the way through to the end there. And then just to finish off, you're going to swim 1 full lap. And again, you're going to have to judge this depending on where you are in the lake and how far you've got to go and all that kind of thing. But what I want you to do is make your way towards the finish. And when you're approximately 100 meters away, then start to kick more strongly, because you're going to get out. And we want to get some blood flowing back to those legs again before you get to your feet. All right, so that's a good way to get yourself switched on and ready to actually start moving those legs again. All right, so that's the endurance session. Finally, the speed session. So this is the second speed session on this 2-week period here. It's pretty much the same as the first one. The only difference on this one is it's gone up to 4 times each of these rather than 3 times. And again, I'm intentionally keeping this simple. There's going to be quite a bit of repetition in there. because I want you to know what you're doing and not have to try and remember everything. All right, so same as the first session, but it's gone up to 4 times each, including the rest has gone up to 4 as well. Okay, so hopefully that kind of clarifies about the type of session that we're doing and the content that's in there. Now, we will be adding the weeks as we go. We don't know how long we're going to do this for, but certainly until we start to get back to some kind of swimming normality in the swimming pools and things. But we'll carry on going like this for the time being. So if you want to, bring back on camera, hang on a second. So if you want to get involved in this, again, it is free and it's open to anybody. Now, all I'm going to ask you to do is, well, there's a couple of things you need to do actually, is because this is delivered on Training Peaks, you need to create a Training Peaks account. So just Google trainingpeaks.com, create an account. It's a free account. You don't need to pay anything for it. And then you can ask to attach me as a coach. All right. And if I just drop this onto my screen, hopefully this will work. He says. There we go. Okay, so if you go to Training Peaks, if you go into the settings, you'll be able to add a coach, and there's my details. So David Knight, sorry, it actually comes up as David Knight in Training Peaks, and then Dave at do3coaching.com, and I will get a notification come through on my Training Peaks my end, and I can simply connect you up. It's as simple as that. All right, you can get Training Peaks on your desktop or on your phone or on your iPad, wherever, and your training plan will be there. All right, so you can go to the lake. You can go into Training Peaks and you will see your training session for the day. All right. Again, you can move them around. You can drag and drop them, or I think you can drag and drop them on the basic account. I'm not 100% sure about that, to be honest. But either way, you can do them on any day you like. I know you can go in and you can change the dates and times so it will move on to a different day. On the desktop, I think you can certainly drag and drop them on there's a premium Training Peaks account, but on the basic account, I'm not 100% sure on that. So you might have to have a look at that. So that's the sessions. Those are the sessions. So 3 sessions a week. Get a Training Peaks account. Select me as a coach. I'll apply the training program to your account, and what we'll do actually is we'll start, I haven't done it yet, but I'll do it today, a separate Facebook group just for the open water side of things, because people from the squad are going to be doing this. There's going to be external people doing this as well. All right, so if you've got questions, we can drop in there and we can keep you guys ticking over with help and advice as we go. Now, just finally, in terms of payment, I did say it's free. Now, all we're asking people to do, and there is no obligation on this, is we have a patron account, a donation account. So all we're asking people to do, and we've done this all the way through the lockdown period, is only make a payment if you can afford it and pay what you think it's worth. It's as simple as that. All right. So we don't want people to be, I know money's tight at the moment, so we don't want people to be spending money they don't have. But similarly, money's tight here too. So anything you can provide does help. Okay, be quite open and honest about that. And I think that's pretty much it. Got some messages coming in. Got a few guys saying hello. Hello, Corin and Georgina. Corin, use a tempo trainer in your hat to beep every 30 seconds. Yeah, good point. So I don't think I've got one in here. The tempo trainers, little yellow tempo trainers from Finis. You can set the timers on there to beep, for example, every 30 seconds. You can put the tempo trainer underneath your hat, and you can hear it underneath your hat. And you can set it to beep every 30 seconds, and then you know when your intervals are stopping and starting. You could do that kind of thing. That's quite a nice way. Quite a nice way of figuring out where you are in the intervals and things like that. Also, a lot of the watches you can program with the timings as well. So you might be able to set it to beep every 30 seconds, every 6 seconds, or whatever the interval is. I know that's fairly straightforward to do. That's another option for you. Joe, can you link my Training Peaks account so I can see these? Yeah, I'll have a look at that for you, Joe. John, this is great. Yeah, it is great. DOS still tomorrow. All right, so we'll get you connected up, John. If I can only do 1 or 2 a week, which one shall I choose? Again, the best thing to do is get an even mix. We don't suggest that everyone does. You just do the endurance, or you just do the speed, or you just do the technique. Get an even mix. All right, so if you're just doing 2 a week, on the first one, you might do a skill session and a speed session. The second one, you might do a threshold session and an endurance session. So mix it up, mix it up. All right, as long as you're going out there and you're doing some good quality work and there's some structure to it, it'd be absolutely fine. All right, hopefully that answers your question. And I think that's it. All right, so I hope you find that useful. If you've got any comments or anything, if you want to drop them into the comments below, this is going to be on YouTube anyway. And if any of you guys are watching this, this is being recorded on the 3rd of June. I forgot the date then, 3rd of June. It still stands. So I'll put all the links in the description. If you want to send your details through to me, connect up. We can add this onto your account. All right, so hopefully you find it useful. All right, so be safe out there. The most important thing for you guys at the moment is that, well, I was going to say we get you swimming, but the most important thing is that you stay safe. All right, so try and abide by the social distancing rules and regulations. It's really important that you do that. Even if when you get out and you see all your mates, please try and keep those distances between you. All right, we've all got to do our bit without meaning to preach, but we've got to make sure we stay safe on that side of things. All right, so make sure you abide by the social distancing regs. Make sure that you know what's happening at the lake in terms of what their policies and procedures are and all the safety kind of things. Make sure you only do what you're comfortable with. Don't force yourself to go too far outside your comfort zone. There's plenty of time. You can increase your exposure to what you're doing, session after session after session. Don't try and go too far too fast. And finally, have lots of fun. All right, that's what it's all about. Get out there and have fun. Open water swimming is absolutely fantastic, and it's once you get used to it, it's absolutely wonderful, beautiful out there. All right, so make the most of it. All right, so again, hope that's been useful, and I shall see you soon. Take care.